There we go. That was really weird. I don't know why it did that. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that awkward pause. There should have been a reason the mic had turned itself off. So here we are, everyone. Welcome to tonight's stream. We are going into the final chapter of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Now, this is still the same case as Chapter 4. So, Chapter 4 is... Or sorry, Chapter 5 is essentially Chapter 4X. So it's like we are in the... Throughout the midnight. We will not be finishing the game tonight, unfortunately. Chapter 5 is about as long as Chapter 4, and Chapter 4 took at least 2 sittings. So, this is the same case, but it is also, I think it is just longer than the case from the first. Yeah, so basically, Chapters 4 and 5 is all the same case, which is a very interesting way to do it. So, we'll be finishing the game. I'm actually probably going to try, and as long as nothing comes up tomorrow night, I'm going to try and just finish this tomorrow and do it a 2-part thing, because I don't know if I want to wait a whole week for the ending. So we're going to go for a natural breakpoint in the trial, and then we're going to be picking it up. So it's like, let me double check and make sure I know how long this section is. Okay, so this final chapter is broken apart into 4 sections, which we are about to begin the trial period, trial part 1, then it'll be an investigation, and then after that investigation period, the rest of the game is going to be trial as well. So we are going to essentially be doing two sections of the game tonight, which will be the first trial and the investigation section. So it could be shorter. I read somewhere that the trial takes about approximately the entire chapter takes approximately 6 hours. But I'm gonna bank on the fact that I may be stupid, or this may take longer than someone else's personal time. So if we finish with enough time early tonight, we may do some more Pokemon XD or something to that nature. We'll find out. Because I gotta try to do that same thing eventually. Or I may just quit early tonight after we reach the halfway point, because I actually have to try to go to bed early tonight. I have with a actual job interview tomorrow, which is good to hear for me. So this will help maybe keep everybody more engaged with it not being super long. So I hope not for you too, Sora, that it doesn't take long. The final chapter. I found insecure. This whole week has had me shaken a little bit mentally, Ramirez. That's probably why. The resolve of Ryunosuke and Naruhodo. November 3rd, the Old Bailey. So, time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. We count your support more than ever today, Mr. Sasato. She does not look right, and I feel really bad for her right now. Miss Sasato? Ah! Ah! Why did... Oh no! What's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Nothing? I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but... I'm so sorry, of course. I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but... I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet, then? Oh dear, I'm really very sorry. Oh, I love that joke, honestly. Sasato-san isn't her usual self at all. But that's hardly surprising, I suppose. She's just found out that her father is the partner of the world-famous detective, not to mention... good morning, sir. Ah, Van Zieks. Lord Van Zieks. Thank you for your efforts yesterday. What? Did I hear that correctly? What? Oh, no, nothing. I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says, I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Good point. It's the Reaper, I suppose, in hindsight. I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? It was my tactic acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zieks. It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. That having been slain by the evil killer, Kin's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod to wield the deadly blade of justice, where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. When I lost him. Dang, he was intimidatingly. I felt as though I lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion, just some nonsense conjured up by the over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you, Lord Clint Van Zieks. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life, and I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. I never thought I'd say this, but I can see it in your eyes, the burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air? It's Iris! And she looks real depressed. Everyone looks depressed. Well, I don't know if you missed this part, but, like, Zieks is the one under arrest. We're defending him, which is why he's depressed. He's also remembering his dead brother. So, there's a lot of things. Oh, Iris, when did you get here? Oh. I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him clear his head. Nice, thank you. Oh. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. You seem different today, Iris. Oh. Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not! Killed Gregsley, the detective. Well, he didn't, but that's what they're saying he did. What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Sith's laboratory. Alright then. Good luck to you both. I have to make a move now. Oh, you're not staying? I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready? For what? Oh, yes. Would you take this? What? Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little Hurley that I made once. A Hurley? It looks more like a Harley to me. Harley, sorry. If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. What? Pull his ears? That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. Iris' lucky charm has been entered into the court record. You think what we'll need is luck. I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom, and it seemed very different than normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. What does that mean? What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris? I don't know. He was out all night, and he hadn't come home by the time I left this morning. Oh, I see. That's concerning. Was Professor Mikitoba out all night too, you think? Miss Sasato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently, they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. Both of them? They? Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean. Judge Jigoku, too. That's right, nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. That's really concerning. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Runo. Good luck, Susie. Yes, thanks, Iris. And you, Mr. Reaper, I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. We must go inside now, Lord Van Zeeks. At least he got one last cup of tea. Lord Van Zeeks has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. But not today. Today I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, this one final reckoning. Bro, I don't know what's about to happen. I'm a little nervous. This is the climax of the entire story. Like, both games, we are at the climax of them both. Dude, it's so quiet. It feels even more oppressive in here than it did yesterday. There are cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, look! Ah! Lord Strongheart? Dude, this isn't good. Where's the judge? Where's the old man? Dude, I don't like this at all. This is not good. Okay, so for anyone not aware, we've been suspecting that Lord Strongheart has been in dirty with a lot of this stuff that's been going on. And he's been coming out as almost a lot of villain vibes. But the fact that he's in here now really isn't good. Especially if he is the mastermind behind this whole spiel. There's no way this is a good thing. For any side. Kazuma must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. No, it turns out he was basically in a short-term coma, and then he had amnesia for like half a year. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial. Whoa. And one over which I, Male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. Well, that ain't good. The Six Jurors Flames just... As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, A collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zeeks. You were a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. Don't hit the Clint button. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. For the trial of Barrack Von Zeeks, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his supervisors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice. Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact, he wasn't. In the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear that he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because while he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convict's escape. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He's recovered enough to give a side statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Which brings us to the critical issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed one day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound. The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Ryunosuke. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss this issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on the 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that concludes the imminent details. Updated the autopsy! But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday. That the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movements of the victim than the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes, especially since on that day, Inspector Grayson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secretive activities. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. Is it Jenna? Yep, there's our girl. State your name and occupation for the court. Inspector Jenna Lestrade reporting. Reaper, Sensitive Scotland Yard. Repper, sorry. A self-conferred rank, but never mind. Jenna again? What's your problem, Otto? What's perfect? Jenna again, look. The boss meant the world to me. You done more than me than anyone else ever did. Except me getting you out of jail. Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean. You helped me out back of slums of the East and took me under his wing. Told me that wife can have purpose. That's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking in for him. Oh, Jenna. Right. All out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes. No. What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. That face. Lord Strongheart knew. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report. Come on, wide up, sir! Seeing her from the straight on is a really weird angle for her. All your detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search over the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is, there's witnesses what saw the Reaper in the place too. Smuggled goods? I don't know, do I? I just tell you what was written in the book. Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe. It's all well known that they're disposed of at irregular black markets, and that take place at the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets. It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge. And do we know where the dealings were taking place this time? In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentleman's club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter. That can't be. We haven't heard anything about this. Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Berek von Zieks, was present. That would be very significant testimony, then. Oh my, but Lord Van Zieks made no mention of this at all. In short, Lord Van Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim. Very well, then, counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination. God, he's scary. Alright, so what we got? So, you follow orders, do you, Jenna? Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see? Oh. The boss always has special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips, or go and give Toby his grub, that kind of thing. Oh. So, errands more than orders, then. This detective is still an apprentice, after all. Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't want to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigation into what happened. I didn't find much at first. Okay, so what about the book? So you went through the Inspector Grayson's things. Yep, as part of an independent Lestrade investigation. I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative. So I snuck into his office when no one else was about. Of course, if anyone at the Yard had seen me going in there, they'd have toughed me right out on the street. This is sounding less and less like an investigation and more like something else. The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook. You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and our twisty assistant Chief Inspector Toby. We found it in one of the desk drawers that added false bottom. That's impressive. So then I went to add myself when no one could find me. Whatever bushes at what was written in it. Because if anyone at the Yard had found me out, they'd have me snuffed right out in the street. Yeah, I'd given it to it now, though, ain't I? And if it weren't for me, it would never have been found. Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place? Yep. It was all in there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember. As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary. What? I disagree. It's conceivable the club might be used again by the smugglers in the future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings. I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's why here. All I've got to do is read it out. And I could too. I've got this reading game buttoned up now. Can I just show you what I can do? Go on. What's on? The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? Well, I want to see. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord. The prosecution has no objection. Ah! Kasuma? There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. What then? I get to show off my reading skills. Apparently the smuggled goods was a deal was supposed to happen at a gentleman's club called the Groose. The Groose. Interesting. The Groose. What sort of club is that? I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing. But I'm kind of curious. They're not places where a foreign student like you would be readily admitted. Have you looked into the mirror recently? I tell you what. Me and Chief Detective Toby could go in overcover. Could you, though? I could pick out a few good marks, see what else I could find while I was there. I don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where these black market dealings were going to take place, is it? Yeah, it's gotta be. That's what the lower ranking detectives at the yard reckon. Says the even lower ranking detective. Okay. So how had Inspector Grayson come to found out about it then, in that case? That's the question, ain't it? But I'm just an apprentice, so... And why didn't he inform the Scotland Yard of his findings? Yeah, that's what I was asking myself, because, you know, I'm just an apprentice. When it suits you, yes. Anyway, the point is, something went off at the club, no question. You can't say that for certain, though, surely. Boom, boom, boom. Man can't go to a gentleman's club? Lord Van Zeeks was at the club. He was. Detectives who visited the club yesterday to make inquiries have confirmed it. Several members report having seen the accused being admitted to the room in question as a guest. It looks like there's no disputing that he was there, then. Well, we know that Lord Van Zeeks was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps he'd already discovered the inspector's secret notebook. Which led him to the club, you mean? Maybe. Presumably, then, there are also eyewitnesses who could testify that Gregson was there. None have been identified at this time, no. So the all-important victim wasn't seen at this mysterious club. Oi! Why didn't you ask Inspector Lestrade here, huh? Because you know nothing. So that's all I've got to work with. Jenna's not holding back with that ice-cold stares of her, is she? She really doesn't know what to make of all this. Lord Van Zeeks was that she was investigating Inspector Gregson, but he never once mentioned that he met the inspector the day before the incident. You don't think Lord Van Zeeks could have been lying to us, could you? That's not the only way to explain this. Oh, if everything Lord Van Zeeks has told us is true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. You mean there are details we've yet to uncover? Exactly. A clue, perhaps, that even Jenna hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here. Okay. So let's see, what do I got in terms of evidentials? This is the wrong autopsy report. Whoops. Evidencias. Wait, what? Let's see. Okay. That wasn't helpful. I thought it was going to be new information. Okay. I thought I inspected this case, but I guess I haven't. What was this again? Was this his passport? Yeah. I definitely haven't checked this before. Wait. Did I press... I pressed this already, right? This isn't helpful. I don't see anything here. Okay, so I'm gonna check my assistant over here and see if I'm on the right track over here. So I'm thinking presenting the passport on either this situation, this statement, or the other one. Okay, so there is something I just forgot to inspect, apparently, on the... Wait. Hold on. Wait. So hold on a second. I thought I've checked this before. I definitely think I've checked this before, so I'm gonna... Oh, the SS Groose! There it is. Wait, where does it say that? I looked physically and I didn't see that anywhere. Does anyone else see it? Yokohama departure. Set 11th of September, London arrival 1st of November. Ah, that's the boat the Professor Megatoba and the Judge Jiguku came out from Japan, isn't it? Yes, I think it's called at Dunkirk on the north coast of France for the night before finally arriving in Dover. I think it's been almost a year since we arrived in Dover on the SS Bureau. Seems a shame not to keep your tickets as a memento of your trip, don't you think? Yes, I agree. I have mine safely in my diary. And I keep mine in my wallet. I've checked this. Oh, well, how strange. Where could I have gone? Are you like this on purpose, Mr. Naruhodo? Did I imagine it? Or was that comment accompanied by a little sigh? Okay, so then I gotta present this then. Okay. I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they are places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called The Groose? The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet. And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean that the police inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think? It's a ship. I have the evidence to prove it. Here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. Ah, this would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship, yes. The SS Groose.
Objection.
So, there's a steamship named the Groose that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of the arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on the 1st of November. Ah! The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores. That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging.
Objection.
The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Groose on the day in question. Then show your evidence for that assertion. Very well. God, that's scary. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Groose on the 31st of October. Is it this? Is it this?
Take that.
Yeah, let's stick with it. What's this? Arrow and Magmas. What are you talking about, Space? Hi, how are you? Hey, motherfucker. He scienced my. He said his glass vial was this big. I thought for a second it was a bot, and then I see it's Space. How are you doing tonight, Space? Is that what those notifications are in my Discord? I see them now. Oh, I see pings. I didn't see these earlier. Wait, you have a time slap too? Dang. Whoa, what the? Okay, music. Goodness gracious. It's so loud, I probably shouldn't use it, but I'm already too far into it. What is this song? I know this song. Goodness gracious, I don't think you've ever done a time lapse before. Well, I have to do this now. It's such a small time lapse, though. Not sure if Space is still in here listening, but it's really good looking. I really like it. I idly wondered if that's what you were drawing him when I saw you do the little teaser from before. What is this song though? Oh, I see the vial now. For a second, I thought that was his. It was a glove he was wearing. I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to. Oh, there we go. I said, that's unhygienic, so I'm making a call post on my Discord.com. You guys, Mom, be treated. Here's what my brush looks like. Dang, Sora. Alright, dang, Space. That was really good, though. I love it. Let's scroll, make sure I didn't miss any other messages. Excuse me. What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim. Dated 31st October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. Look at that. Look at that. Good paint. Oh, tall bristles. It looks like a nose, a big nose and a line. Oh, I love this. I love this bit, Space. Order, order! This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grus arrived at Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board, at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? Kazuma. The prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of the Scotland Yard investigations, and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. What? And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that's something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi? A courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts, without exception. Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, wasn't it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked on France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. The Reaper? Oh. Order! Order! What on earth are you saying, counsel? The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper. So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination. Barak von Zeke never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast-iron alibi. Casual time travel side quest. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that was Inspector Gregson. Well, what the hell you think you're saying, eh? My boss would never have done nothing like that. And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense. You got a funny hat. I want one too. We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. No, he's talking about the jury, though. The people in the background, the shadows. They have all their big fancy top hats. It did throw me for a loop there. The only character wearing a hat is Jenna. But the background characters do have hats. The next time you get a behind shot from Naruhodo or Kazuma, you can see. Yes! Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zeeks. No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Barak von Zeeks is not the Reaper. A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grus on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh, You have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, Counsel? Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Gatoba and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. Oh, I see the hat snare in the back now. What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Groose that night, with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure. Failure? It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector General Lestrade? What? The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of a secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey. You're lying! Even if all them bludgers won't go ahead at coming, the boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Jenna. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumors. I ain't nothing, and I don't believe a word of it. Then testify again, as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss. I don't... I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's notebook. Dude, Strongheart is menacing. The Reaper's notebook. Yeah, this notebook does have a load of stuff about what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. And the last entry date one day was 31st October. It said Groose for the place on that date. It's in the name of the mark. There knows about him being a criminal. Got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or something. Boss, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all. This poor girl. Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here. This must be so hard for her. You can't deny it now, surely, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What can I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark and the location where the assassination would take place. That's information the victim only could have known if he was working with the Reaper. So, who was to be this final mark? Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the Groose on the 31st of October. Whoa, how do you read this, then? Reading's still not a strong suit. That ain't the problem, Otto! It's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read. It's someone from overseas. Let me have a bash at it. Shishiro, is it? Yeah, Shishiro. Jigoku, maybe? What? It can't be. Shishiro Jigoku? But that's Judge Jigoku. I don't know how to say his name, actually. Shishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right.
Objection.
But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku. And I saw him yesterday, the day before yesterday, here in London. So I know for a fact that man hasn't been assassinated. As I said, the Reaper failed. Oh. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and returned to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake. So he killed the inspector. Personally. The Reaper, of course, being the accused, Barak von Zeeks. It's an undeniably logical argument. Kazuma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it!
Is that von Zeeks? There. Yo, the chalice! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice while I stand accused of murder. Lord Van Zeeks! The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there's one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective. Eh, what? Nah, that's right. I'm an inspector. Repeating rumors heard around the yard. Reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony. It's practically a script. No doubt that the rest of this trial will go exactly as you clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I'm the Reaper, who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself. By attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance. My lord, the defense requests the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness. Very well, I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination. Then allow me to toast to the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately! At once, my lord, before he changes his mind. I hear dog. 30%. Alright. Alright, let's start pushing. Dude, Zeke's showing up as someone. It's a script! Bro, he's not even kidding, man. It's just completely all set up like the dominoes that fall over. In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. Not you, you know! That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret. And that notebook said what he found out. If I may, when originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial. But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. The Creeper? There was simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization. With you at its head. Pfft. I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I'd been able to check on the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said Groose. Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate, alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as known by the passport found in the victim's middle trunk. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Fine. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo. You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh, no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? But I'm not sure what thing he's overthinking.
Hold it!
Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff? What in particular? Well, besides the victims' names, this other name keep cropping up. What other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again. You mean Asia Shin? Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours, something, is she? Were you even listening yesterday? Asia Shin, the assassin. What? Like, a killer, you mean? Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Ah, then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person been? Clearly the assassin, who was meant to take Shihiro Jigoku's life. That makes sense now, because all this time I've been operating on the assumption that the additional party was meant to be for Jenna, because he said he was taking her to Paris, right? That was the original plan, I thought. So I just assumed the additional he was going to be going with was going to be Jenna. Unless Jenna was meant to be like a cover point for that. Jenna, can you confirm that? Against the final entry listed Groose and Shishiro Jigoku, what name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens. What? It just added like a question mark or something there, I think. In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating. A nameless assassin. Well, it's because Asia Shin was already dead. They didn't have a new assassin yet. At least not one that Gregson knew. A nameless assassin.
Hold it!
And you're saying that the mark listed was Shihiro Jigoku. That's what I said! Funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd. So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku is a preceding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judiciary. Hey, remember the man? He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago, studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, after that fateful case. Precisely. In the aftermath of the Professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. I don't know what that word means. I'm guessing he was sent back is what it means. There's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible, but the mood is gotten even worse now. Maybe I just keep talking. Summit. What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku didn't once appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the Professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course. You're right. Shihiro was trying to mitigate Shin's guilt when he took the stand to testify, but he got a little carried away and actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I had forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that child too, as it happens. You did? It was considered to be an adjacent to the Professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Of what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule? That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jagogu was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. Come on, that's absurd! To take someone's life for that? Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd, killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension. But... Why? I mean, just about enough of this! Jenna? All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people, it's clobbers! Come on, Otto! Yes? Why are you saying nothing? Why are you yelling out objection to Summit? What? You've got to find a flaw. You do usually. Someone's lying here. No question. You've got to work out who it is. Please. For the boss. She's not wrong. Someone's lying. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When the trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I have added with a lot of years. Lies every beaten place you look in this world, ain't it? Why, that enough? Jenna. So have I. After that little speech of Jenna's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Well, do you mean? I'm not going to let Jenna's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Was it this one? Was it this one? I can't remember. It was either the first, this one or the first one. I think it's the first one. I think it is this one. No, it's alright. Okay. Something in this one. Huh. Okay, so, but we're... Should I press this again? Have I done this one yet? Okay, hang on. I have already seen this extremely long text. I've lost track of which one I had pressed already. God, there's no fast skip button. Alright, so let's see. What's she... I want to thank you, Jenna. You helped me find my resolve. Eh? What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency? Really, Otto? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... Wait. Was it Barrick? I don't actually know. Hold on, I'm gonna... But I don't know what I'm looking at. But he's the only person who spoke.
Take that!
Of course, by you, Lord Van Zeeks. Me? What? Your face has turned ashen. How could he know, is what you're thinking. No, if my face has turned ashen, it's because I'm thinking. How could he? I don't know where you're going with this, but... Maybe the evidence you're obviously about to show the court will clarify. In that case, the defense will present evidence that substantiates claim. To which piece of evidence does the alleged inconsistency relate? Okay, so... My logic here is... I'm kind of almost pushing my way through the dark on this one. I'm thinking it's this notice board.
Take that!
I had hoped not to have to present this evidence, but you leave me no choice. What do you say to this, Lord Van Zeeks? It's probably not correct at all. Your feelings were correct. Presenting that evidence was a mistake. I suggest you withdraw it. Sorry? Good advice. Because you've turned decisively ashen. Ah! I only hope the Reaper doesn't hold that against you. Fingers crossed. I think this line of argument has run its course. I suggest you learn from your mistakes before you make the fatal one in the eyes of the Reaper. I'd better be listening very carefully to the testimony again. So that's what we have to work with. It may help us that Lord Van Zeeks is at the stand too. Yes, perhaps. I'm sure Jenna knows nothing she hasn't already told us. There's one point drinking more about her. Did you notice how Kazuma-sama reacted to Lord Van Zeeks' words? When he called him an even more sinister Reaper, you mean? Well, I'm sure Kazuma intends to eliminate any shred of doubt that that man is guilty. He's looking for revenge against the person he considers his father's killer, after all. I do worry that if we fail to find a discrepancy in this testimony somewhere, the trial may end, and agitation won't go in our favor. Let's listen carefully again to what everybody is saying. Okay, so I'll listen to this one more time.
Hold it!
Let's see. Okay. No. What is that? There is an imposter among us. So, what are we working with in terms of evidence? Huh. Let's see. I gotta get a hint before I can advance, because I want to kind of... I'm not really sure what I'm getting at here. Wait. What? Hold on. So wait, what did they... Let's go back and look through this. Okay. Wait a minute. Does he mean about... He called him... He has the potential to be a worse Reaper. Wait a minute. See, I didn't get this. I looked at the guide and one thing made sense to me. Like one hint in the right direction. Wait, what? I don't know what that means. Okay, so I kind of forgot this part. Kazuma knew in advance that Gregson... He knew in advance that Gregson was traveling abroad. He knew that in advance. So... And I see that now. We went back and looked at it. It's like he said, like there was something that stuck out to Ryunosuke, and it comes right after Kazuma says, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. And Ryunosuke reacts to that, and then we completely just move on. So it must be that. So he suspects Kazuma of something then. That's gotta be it then. But what does that mean? So wait, could the fact... Okay, so I gotta look at this again. The gash on his trunk, could that be Kazuma's katana that's cut through that? I don't know if I'm going too far in advance of this. One inconsistency, yeah, and it's the fact that Kazuma knew. I got too focused on the fact because Van Zeeks reacted, and I thought we were talking about Van Zeeks, but it didn't make any sense. Where's Kazuma's face? Here he is. Oh, it went quiet. By you, Kazuma Asogi. Me? Is this some attempt at filibustering, counsel? Prosecutor Sogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Sogi has said? He's talking about the trunk. It must be the trunks.
Take that!
This is the trunk that belonged to the Inspector Gregson. The metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A blood stain. And a relatively fresh one, too. What? You mean that ain't the grease from all the boss's fish and chips? Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it, me, with the nose for trouble. Humph. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. It didn't even dawn on me. It didn't even dawn on me because we found that trunk. This is what happens when you take a week in between sessions. That trunk has never been visually shown in court. See, that's the thing I glossed right over my head because like when you take gaps in these sessions, you forget these little details. I wouldn't normally make those type of mistakes, maybe not, if it was something I did at the time. But it didn't even occur to me that the trunk has never been submitted to the court for as evidence properly. It's just in the inventory, but it hasn't appeared in court. And it never had been at the scene until Jenna found it from the street peddler. So now that makes sense. Kazuma should have never known about that unless he was there. And that's the problem we're dealing with now. Now Kazuma's got red hands. And yes, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked in the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk? We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection!
But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you? At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Groose. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Kazuma, what did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it can only have been for one purpose. And that is something interesting because the day before this all happened, Kazuma was not in... Nobody knew where Kazuma was. We went to go meet with him, and he didn't show up until after Lord Van Zeeks was arrested. So that's another thing I forgot about too. Kazuma was not in England. Or at least in the city of London. At the time. He was gone, and nobody knew where he was. Zeeks didn't know where he was either. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. Oh, my Game Boy turned on. As I understand it, Professor Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you proved nothing. Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it that beyond all reasonable doubt that you were there that day in the same place as the inspector? He was there with Gregson? There's a clue you overlooked. A secret that trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where the trunk this alleged clue is found. Where's the evidence that ties Prosecutor Ryunosuke to Inspector Gregson?
Got it.
Is this your proof? What do you say to that, Prosecutor Ryunosuke? Personally, I think tying the defense counsel to the inspector's trunk and tossing it to the sea would be more helpful. What do you mean? What? At least that way, London's courtrooms will be safe from his destructive accusations. I believe that was a rather long-winded way of telling you that you're wrong, Mr. Naruhodo. Very well, then let us see if you sink or swim under the weight of this penalty, counsel. Wait, what? What did I... Mr. Naruhodo, you can't let yourself be drowned in the sea yet. I was hoping never to let that happen, funnily enough. Wait, what did I... Did I get the wrong spot? I gotta believe it's this. This is... Wait. Wait, I'm confused. Wait, what did he say before this? Okay, so wait. So I thought maybe I just picked the wrong part of the gash. Let's back up a little bit here. Let me go back. What did Ryunosuke say before this? He was thinking it to himself. I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it, but I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. Okay, if he needs to verify it, it's got to be the blood. There's nothing else. This is... Wait, what? Okay, there's nothing else on this thing! I'm gonna throw this game out in the trash. I can't save here. I'm in presentation mode. Hold on. I'm just gonna look. Maybe if I picked the wrong thing. Okay, so hold on. Wait. Oh, I didn't know I could open it! Okay. Good grief. Are you serious? Once again, I'm right the wrong way. There's a small piece of metal lodged into the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade. Eh? A blade? Kazuma, sling around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma. Of course it is. Why don't you draw it, here in this courtroom, for all to see? Oh, that look in his eye. Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Ryunosuke like a hawk. That won't be necessary. That's one chipped katana, alright. Oh no! The tip is broken. If the fragment of the metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asogi? Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved. Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Isogi? Yes, on the 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from the notebook? You are following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one. Explain. I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk. But I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it. We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. I don't know. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Cruise and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town, and returned to England the following morning. A boarding house? In Dunkirk? My signature will be in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify. Then, what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete his mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated Gasserine to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. Kazuma is using this to paint Zeeks in a worse light, and it's not going to work. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection.
But if you did nothing as you claim, how does the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. Bull! The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade is irrelevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. The great sword, Karuma, has been entered into the court record. We must take immediate action now to verify whether Shishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours... It's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power to influence influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Dude. Order! Order in the court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. No, not just Jigoku. No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake. My lord, I sincerely hope we are successful. If we are able to confirm Judge Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes! Brain starts spitting up. Oh. We're only in here alone. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. Dude, she looks so worried. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. Wait, what is this gonna do? Probably making TikToks sound like a douche. For some reason, you run out of options today, then just pull little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. Wait, what is this gonna do? Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Should pull Hurley's ears or not? Pull! Here it goes then. I'm gonna do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Ow! It screams out like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here! It's the felt doll talking? Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. Alright then, I'll put all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off! Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Groose. The SS Groose? She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station by train to the port in order to board this vessel in time. So, you mean you're already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Herlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. They're cited to perfection! Well done! You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. What's happening to him? Ow, 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 ow! Miss Sasato, gently with this genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. What the... Ah, there you are, Mikatoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Groose. At Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. Ah! Oh, but of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions out of my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads then, I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It is for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt that we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch. If you're not in touch first. Ow! 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 I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging in my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operating the way that we're operating in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine. Nice. So is this the investigation period that the guy... Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half of that now before Groose gets put to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Napels before long. There are times, Bikatoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin! Yo, it's that dude again, from the first game. First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. The crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why are you lowering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Do you not recognize a world-traveling great sailor taking stronger when you see? Great detective, hey, I don't think so. Why is his name on your arm? Do you see that, Bikatoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes? I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave now! How distressing. My loyal devotee only knows me by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world abroad in a Russian steamship, in fact. Yeah, how could you know this? Elementary, my dear Bikatoba. I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There's no one with this name on board. But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. You mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. We here at Dunkirk, he said something about emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Sahiro's realized that we're after him, has he? His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please. That's Sholmes backwards and in numbers. No, I have orders not to let even mouse inside. I think he's supposed to be Russian. I'm messing up right now. Mikatoba, be a good man and draw this sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area. Doesn't great detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right? Curses! The plan is ruined! And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot go inside! Mikatoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock. Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, and your typically accommodating manner. How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man! So, the game is afoot. Okay, so hold on. Alright, so there's a number on him. Interesting to know. I need to take a brief intermission to refresh my throat with a drink, and I think pizza has arrived. So we're gonna be taking a brief intermission, and then we'll be playing out this investigation until it's over, and that will be where our stop point is for tonight. If it is early enough, say we actually do finish within the next half hour or so, I will do some XD, I think. Something that could be played a little shorter without me losing track of time. So that's if we finish within the next hour or so. So everyone get your bathrooms and whatnots out the way, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Where's this? Alright, we are back. Sorry about the sudden reappearance. I guess there's really no way to reappear but suddenly, I guess, right? Have eaten dinner. And now we will continue. Pull the alarm. This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. No, I think not. That would never work, surely. You could conduct another distraction. It's supposed to be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. Let's try it. Choo-choo! That sounds like Big Mouse and Trap. Choo-choo! I will bring a bucket of water later and put it out of misery. I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a choo sound. Oh really, Sholmes? And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make? Pee, naturally. Although also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So go ahead, Makatoba, do a pee this time. No, thank you. I'm sure I can come up with an alternative solution. Ah, the switch for the electrical lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewmen wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. Let's flick the switch. What is happening? Where's light? Now, Sholmes, now! Didn't work, did it? Home for nobody there. That was a close shave. Quite a knack you have, stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor. Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach. That's the way back to the deck, but we certainly can't give up on this now. That's a speaking tube for members of the crew to communicate with one another around the ship. I can just persuade our stocky sailor friend that he needed to use it. Sholmes could unlock the door. Well, he's distracted. Question is how? Well, that's another first-class cabin, and yet its door is completely unguarded. As well, I had a quick look inside earlier, though I confess I didn't investigate the wardrobe. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspiring merrily. If you're referring to Naruhodo, you know very well that he's currently perspiring merrily in court. Does it not strike you, though, Mikatoba, why the man stands guard only in front of this cabin when both are apparently vacant? Well, there's nothing else to... Here it goes, then. Pardon me in advance. Yo, what are you doing? If we are at sea, that would be very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Strongnov reported once. Sorry, sir. Nothing to report. It was just stupid trick. No, not by me. By your favor. No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now. Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't say that I'm copying my brilliance, Makatoba. In we go. Oh, yes. Zoom. SS Gruce? Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. Those clothes on the floor there, they're Shahiro's without question. Well, it seems we were just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, while we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. But that burly crewman may return any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may. Which makes it all more thrilling. Quite quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it's... Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off. Ice, Mekatoba, ice! What opulence is the first class of joy? It children drinks. Pardon? Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electricity refrigerated cold room, do you think? Well, it is a luxury liner, after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mekatoba, the sight of you is making my mouth water. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. There's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stopped with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Or indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Could something have happened here that was not for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that, or... it could be to prevent snakes from entering. Bro, snakes. That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, fierce punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases. I feel the rules here have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though, a trifle. And you know what I always say, Mekatoba? There is nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. This is the wastekeeper paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside. Indeed, then let us pry. I discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Huh. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then. When I was still aboard myself. Evacuation drill notice. Following departure from port of... I couldn't read all of that. Ah, yes, there was an evacuation drill. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under watch by the crew. So it was welcome leave to have some privacy for once. Okay. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe. Indeed he was, and it was of a similar size to this one. Ah, you must come inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for? It was the site of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, and you go. This will only take a moment. Really, Sholmes, surely you can just tell me what you said. Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer. I think I'll just read about it in The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown, momohiki work trousers, a tanzin robe, a haramaki waistband, clearly the clothing of a Japanese man. And clearly Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe. It looks to me as if they've been thrown in a heap like that in something of a hurry. Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps. I'm sure you made mention of packing too few. I'd very likely drown in one of Miss Shahiro's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think. The case. That's a very sizable trunk indeed. Shihiro is partial to all things large. Rather clumsy fellow when he failed to notice he'd left that behind. Perhaps he'd left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but it's still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity, it's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not, it has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a Morse mood enough to work through all the combinations at present. Plenty of reading material to keep passenger occupied on long sea voyages. Found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say. Whoever stalked this book was a hopeless heretic. There's no copy of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, my dear fellows. I'm afraid it's just me, but no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible. Oh, you're right. I shall leave a copy behind. I just happen to have one with me. You're a true missionary of the Church of the Great Detectives, aren't you? The wall was slightly different colored just here. Do you see? Indeed, what you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Oh no. Yo, you're still here! Ah, Abel Seaman Strongnov. Hello again. I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. Yeah, you are waiting for me. Of course, I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before. Poor innocent teaching. It's all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally. The debunking of your deceit and the barring of the truth. Kahoy! I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jikoku has not yet left this vessel at all. Eh! And for another, my dear Seaman Strongnov, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you? How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes, you mean you've worked it out? All of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my imitable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more. What is this? Ha! We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Mr. Strongnov, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jikoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. Da! That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please, do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jikoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Yo, they're portraits. Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since you last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite! Now all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me! I think I can manage that. Is it the trunk then? I was trying to do the clothes, but the trunk.
Take that.
Wait, what? Mikotoba, no games now, were my words, were they not? Come, Sholmes, where's the fun in life without a little fooling around, hmm? Ha! Quite right you are! That was a close shave. I better rethink that before I am the fool here. Jigoku didn't disembark 2 hours ago at all. That was a lie, wasn't it? Of course it was, and I had hoped you would be quicker to point out why. Otherwise, the evidence itself made it melt away before our very eyes. Oh. Bro. Bro, I was thinking the wrong logic. Nice little clue there. Whoa. Whoa, what? Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious. The chalk here said ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind out off the refreshment shelves. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Strongnov? Ugh! But why would Shihiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grus are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? Ah, that's right. They are. I was in the cabin next door, and Shihiro was, yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see, there are traces of this cabin. It's a bit of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide. What traces? Ah! I know nothing about this! Ah, this is news to you, is it then, Mr. Strongnov? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in the cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here. That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say I didn't foresee ever doing this dance in detection with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we all know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow! I love these two so much.
Take that.
There we go. It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall is if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. The frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. Ah, you are right. When did frame move? Hardly the most observant crewman, are you, Mr. Strongnov? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Gah! Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall? It's a bullet. That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see, the projectile has been removed. Clearly, the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Strongnov. Oh! I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you are talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger? Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. Oh! He's so smart when Naruhodo's not here to boost his to boost the ego of. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense, as clearly shown by... I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes. Ah, my dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. And I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I put a wager on it. So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I can certainly do that.
Take that.
Wait, what? Mikotoba, no game... They only have one, but that's what it is. So a Russian crewman is aiding a Japanese man to evade capture by an English detective. Nationality didn't come into it. In this aspect, all humans are the same. Ask yourself what can spur men to do the bidding of another whom he knows precious little. There's only one thing in the whole world with such repugnant bottomless power. I wasn't thinking about it. Let's not get carried away now, Sholmes. I'm going too quickly. Money. I didn't. I was too quick to the jump. It's almost too obvious for words. Quiet! The universal language of the world. Money. Duh! And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is this Chihiro Jigoku, yes? Gah! So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you know, Mr. Strongnov. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glances is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a military delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You can hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes aside, my dear fellow.
Take that.
You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Ah! The truth is, Chihiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside the trunk. If he still has breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't even know the 7-digit code. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. And I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Strongnov? Ugh, no, I know nothing about combination code. Yep, you were totally right about that, Sora, though. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman! Oh? Now, Mikotoba, you would do the honors and open the trunk. How on earth do you expect me? It's a 7-digit number. Remember. Quickly now! We have little time! Wait.
Take that.
We have to actually open it. Okay. That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugen, you found me now. Chihiro? I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it? No, quite. I just wish it were some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've heard stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil's in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Chihiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine? What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey. Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it. I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. It's somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available. So I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else from taking this cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, the ship will set off on its own onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Chihiro. Take it. What is that? What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugen. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Chihiro? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea. By the look at his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Oh, it's the missing broken piece off of Gregson's watch. Okay. So, now we're left with the situation here. This is a piece of Gregson's watch. Gregson was here. So then, are we led to believe that because Kazuma would not kill Jigoku, that Gregson decided to take matters into his own hands and try and kill the judge himself? The question is, did the judge kill Gregson out of self-defense? Or if something else happened? That's the question, isn't it? Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir for our brief sojourn in France. The small component has been added to the court record. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we have done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. Wow, was that really it? Well, hold on. That's definitely what it is. Okay, well, I don't really know where we're sitting at here with time. I don't know how much is left. But I feel like I don't know. There was no natural cutoff point, but that's kind of where the guide kind of ends the investigation period, I believe. Let me double check. So... Okay, hold on. We're gonna keep going. I went ahead and looked. We're technically not done with the investigation period. So let us finish up whatever's left. Kazuma Asogi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie. But still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
Objection.
No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all of the relevant testimony. There can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court has yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Shihiro Jigoku. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jigoku! You found him?! But the investigation of a policing resource in the capital suggests that Jigoku was already dead! How in the name of God did you find the man? He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes! Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with the prosecutor Sogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Shihiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grus on the 31st of October. Halloween. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side. No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. Wait, what? Hold on. Okay, we're technically still in investigation, as far as I can tell by this look. So, we're gonna continue until we are resuming trial. So okay, so I got a little ahead of myself. We still have a little more to go tonight. The unexpected halt of the proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, At a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. What a feast! We have returned, my dear fellows! Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I know. You could say that, where we were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So, this prosecutor, Asogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible to think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Sholmes. So, what news of Jinchikoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had a reply already? What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone. Ah, and what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak, and kidney pie. Yorkshire pudding. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set, with a helping of a pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy. For me? That's right, I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. Are we gonna tell her? It's a shame, really. What do you mean? We've gotta tell this kid. Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Wait, what? Oh! Wait. Wait, so they're not? Iris, do you mean? Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had after I had tricked you all to think I'd left. What? What? Dude, he's on the ground! Knocked out. The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris' father. Aw, that's a bummer! I wanted them to be half-sisters. Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, that's quite alright. Then why don't I get the apologetic pheasant? So just who was Iris' father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. No, somebody knows. So then let us dine while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. Fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. As much as you like, there are always seconds. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. By the telegram from Japan and about Kazuma, I can't let this opportunity slip away. I know. What is wrong with Mr. Sholmes? Why is he the only one here? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Megatoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow, I find myself quite in the mood for a spill of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I could probably contain my curiosity on that one. I do love Sholmes' drip underneath the coat. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpleasant matters to discuss. We sure do. The telegram from Japan. So, then what was the telegram you received back from Japan, then? Ah, this! I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time! Record found... Okay, record found and indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi / Shin A. T. Gregson / J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names? We've come across the exact list before. Yeah, back at the docks at the end of the last game. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. We're gonna be hit big next time. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states, and exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked and deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. I forgot that we hadn't addressed that yet, so why are the names coming up again now? Yes! Where did the sender of your telegram deliver them from, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. What? I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hasanaga undertake such an onerous task for you? Bro, I botched that sentence completely. Bro, he shows up one last time from the grave as a portrait. Oh, with that turtle on his head. Oh, I see the little feet. And in my name, I wonder what guise he opted for this time. I wish I could know. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand! Anyway, the list of names was found in Chihiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. What does that mean? So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. But what does that mean? I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. No, it does not. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Alright, the lie. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Bureau was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, All that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. Wait, what? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Sasato. And then I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in the aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? Was it him, or was it... Who was it? The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. I don't remember Hasanaga's voice, I'm sorry. In light of Mr. Hisogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. I forgot it was him. So, you manipulated me! I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it! But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. The woman who was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator, what are you supposed to make of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. Oh right, forgot about her. I seem to remember Miss Sasato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. She did try to kill him, it just turns out she failed. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Yeah, why did you do it? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? Wait a minute, what if Kazuma knew this was going to happen, and that's why he brought Ryunosuke with him in case something happened to him? He was prepared! What if that was the whole reason Naruhodo was pulled along in the first place? Because Kazuma expected something to happen. The truth is, 12 months ago... I can barely hear it. The truth is, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Hey Tang, how's it going? Oh! An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. There was no room for doubt with your instructions in the telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Denjigoku's office that should be searched, so... You obviously knew that that's where the list of names would be found. Keisogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learned of those four names just over 6 months ago, and now only because they appeared as part of the top-secret governmental communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those four names were wired to Japan around 6 months before that. Approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. Pressing It would be a hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communication between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes, when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line. That is a good line. Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient, Jigoku, in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partially correct and partially mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they all are somehow connected. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased. What? Who? A. Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asia Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Kei Asogi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. But I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain. So that's why you were such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. That makes sense. He was trying to save his life. Exactly. So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes. Nah, he don't smoke, he just has it. Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I recounted details about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. So, Dr. Wilson is dead then. I didn't know. Oh, Iris! I knew he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes. You mean about Asia Shin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed. She was she. She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah! And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis I had formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? The Topsy hypothesis. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had believed all 4 names on this list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asia Shin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed. And it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Well, duh. Which would, of course, explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asia Shin is because he was the target of an assassination. And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the 4, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... But of course, the name you know only too well. You mean... Kazuma?! Oh! He did say in court earlier today. Wait, what are we talking about? Yes, on the 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Grayson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. He's a socket here, too. Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not! In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say. Detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that? What is happening? Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain, or to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction. Thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes! Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels? These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by a contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Shihiro Jigoku at all. It would mean that Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So just Jigoku wasn't actually the mark. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. But what does that mean? I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Jenna. Come to think of it, Inspector Grayson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition. He said he'd be transferring to Paris Police and taking Jenna with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. So wait. So you mean to tell me that not only was Gregson not a member of the Reaper, then that also means he really was hunting them down and tracking them down on his own. That's why Strongheart was still surprised by it, and that's why he was killed. Not because he failed at an assassination, but because he really, really was investigating it. It's Ace Attorney, anything could happen. Switch to take in. But where does that leave Cosmo? I'm so confused. Alright, everyone. That's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Ah! Quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is a little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. We still haven't talked about that. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runo to the floor? Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Adoption. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'd be gladly to be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Ah! Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Sudden adoption. Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now. Because it's for my big brother and sister. What is all of this talk of preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? Is this a secret? You'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. Adopted fool. I'll do my very best, of course. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths while posing new conundrums that list 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden, but at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Oh, this little gaggle of idiots. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Do we not actually have a family? I have to wonder. Yo, what a nice little note to end on. I'm glad I didn't stop assuming it was it was at the pause point. Okay, so that's concludes the final investigation period. There is definitely too much to continue tonight, of what I understand. Because I've already taken longer than, oops, because I knew it would. I've already taken longer than the guide has, or the time guide I had read suggested I would take. The guide expected me to take about an hour into the court section, and about an hour into investigation-ish. Rounding up to maybe, what, a little over 2 hours to get to this point. I'm already an hour behind that estimation. So the last of the trial is probably going to be longer than that estimation. So, as far as I am aware, it broke down that the trial had an hour in, another break, and then an hour for the final section of the trial, and then, like, over a half an hour to 40-something minutes of an epilogue or something. So, yeah, there's a lot to do. So, I'm going to stop it here for tonight. I think I'll change games for a little bit. I don't know. I feel like the only thing I could probably play at this hour is maybe some more Pokemon XD. And then I'll have to decide if I finish this game on Saturday night tomorrow or on Sunday night, and I'll put a little thing in the Discord for you guys to vote about which day works best for everyone. Possibly Sunday, because that gives everyone Saturday to catch up on this episode if they missed it. Like, I know we lost Ramirez at the break point. The Coliseum ROM hack? It'll probably be a little bit before I ever try the Coliseum or XD ROM hacks. I would like to try them, but it'll probably be a little further back on the list of things, because I don't even have it, don't know how it works, any of that. So I'm gonna stop here for tonight. I'm gonna make a brief intermission, I suppose. And then we'll be back in a little bit, and I'll do a little bit of XD for tonight. And see if we can continue that challenge. But for those of you not coming to Pokemon, I will see you guys probably tomorrow for a case, or no, for a stream. I don't know if it'll be this yet or not. But I'm finishing this weekend at one of these days. So if I don't see you at Pokemon, I'll see you tomorrow for whichever I stream. So have a good night, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.